Rolling.
All right, everybody, welcome to BO Boys for Sunday, December 3rd. F it, it's a raw feed. We're doing it live. I know I'm alive.
Who are you?
I'm Clayton.
Yeah, I'm Pat. And wow, it's been a while, huh, Clayton? I'm gone. You forget how to open the show. You forget
What?
that we say our names at the top.
I was sitting in
Man, oh
that
man,
chair for a whole week.
you were in the A chair. And listen, first thing I want to do is give my sincere thanks to Clayton. Sure, some thanks. But more importantly, give my thanks to Wannabe senior intern Christopher, filling in for me for an entire week. I mean, he came in here and he was in the big man's chair and he did great. He did great. Well, you slid over to the big man's chair. He slid over to your chair. That's yeah. He
Yeah.
allowed you the opportunity to be in the big man's chair.
Uh,
Um,
again, I don't know if that's, but
you like the equals thing. Okay, we'll go with that for now.
uh, uh,
So Christopher, great job. I've gotten rave reviews. A wannabe girl texted me to say that she can't believe that she's listening to an episode of the BO Boys that I'm not even on. So this Christopher's got a bright future. So I mean, this guy's getting rave reviews. So thank you, Christopher. I mean, Clay, we're going to get to these movies, the box office, but should we start with the elephant in the room of what happened? Where have I
yeah.
been?
Where have you been, Pat?
Well, I mean, listen, we're not going to pretend this is news to you. You were there for some of this.
Yeah.
Um, had a medical incident over the past week. I know there was a lot of speculation. I'm sure a lot of people assumed that I was dead, and you and Christopher and Jack were trying to hide the announcement of it for as long as
Mm-hmm.
possible to, uh,
For the
move some
stockholders, we were hiding it from the stockholders
right,
just for a little bit until we
which
could
is it
sell. We could sell everything.
right, which is what we will do if one of us does pass away. We will hide it for as long as possible. So it
Mhm.
makes sense that that's what the audience thought last week, that I was dead and you guys were trying to, gobble up my share of the IP from
Mhm.
my beneficiaries. But I am alive. Here it is. I had kidney stones. I had kidney stones incident. Uh, listen, paint a picture. This happened on Thanksgiving,
Mm.
and you were there, Clayton. Family Thanksgiving. You were
Yep.
there with me, my wife, my in-laws, Clayton,
Yep.
having a beautiful turkey dinner. The day before we had seen Thanksgiving in theaters. That night we went to see Saltburn,
Mhm.
and then the next day it hit me, doubled over in pain. I've had this before. But not like this.
Mhm.
And just intense pain. I mean, that first night, Clayton, you were up with me in the living room of my in-laws. And so I gave most of the credit earlier to Wannabe senior intern Christopher for filling in. But here's the credit for you, Nurse Clayton, taking care of me in the middle of the night on my
You
first
know,
night of intense kidney stone pain.
what else am I supposed to do?
So that's, BO boys, we argue, we fight on the air, we
Mhm.
tussle over whether Barbie's going to be a hit or not, whether it should have been animated or live action.
Yeah.
But then when the shit hits the fan in real life, nurse BO boy Clayton was there, putting heating pads on me, just watching me shuffle around and scream and cry.
Yep.
Uh, and we're not TV guys, huh? But you put
Huh?
on season 4 of Seinfeld in the middle of the night so we could watch that, get my mind off of it. Um, Now here's the thing: you did, of course, burn me with the
Oh,
heating
here we go.
pad.
Here I okay. It couldn't all be
You were
good
heating
here.
them
You
up,
had
heating them up. I was putting them under my back. Finally, I passed out on the couch. Woke up the next day, big bubbly mess on my back. But you know what? You did it with the best intentions. I was asking for those hot pads,
uh,
and
yep. And I
you
wanted
didn't.
to take your mind off the other pain, so I
Yes,
I created more pain.
you created more pain, which, there's a lot of doctors who prescribe to that theory of treatment is create
Mhm.
other pain
Yeah.
to get your mind off of the real pain. So went in, I ended up in the hospital over the weekend. They measured this thing. I got them in both kidneys. I got them all over. So this is going to be, this is going to be a developing story
Oh,
across
yeah.
the next season of the BO Boys.
Oh,
2024 is going to be the year of monitoring these kidney stones.
yeah.
But the one that had dropped, the one that was the problem one that had left the kidney, it was too big to pass. That's that's the issue here. And so, I think our audience, they think in a very specific way. They think in numbers, they think in box office.
Mhm.
My kidney stone was the I would say equivalent to the size of the opening weekend of Barbie.
Okay. Okay.
It's
I thought
not
you were gonna go
Endgame.
old school and say Titanic.
No, well, the opening weekend of Titanic is not that big. The opening weekend of Titanic,
Oh, you're
you could
right.
pass that kidney stone.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
If you have a kidney stone that is which was what, 36 million,
Mm,
right? You could pass a kidney stone that is the equivalent to a $36 million opening weekend.
true.
You can't pass a kidney stone that is equivalent to $160 million opening weekend, which
Could
is what
you ha
I had.
could you have passed Five Nights at Freddy's? 80
Uh,
mil.
so exactly half, that's on the border.
Okay.
Like, and that is actually that's a great one because a kidney stone that would be half the size of mine would be on the border. It would be deemed unlikely to be able to pass naturally.
So
But
then
a
you
Barbie size opening weekend kidney stone, it is impossible. You could have that opening weekend in your body for years, experiencing the nonstop pain, and it will never come out on its own. I mean, it will kill you or make you,
now,
do whatever.
do you think you could have passed the opening weekend of The Marvels or Wish without even noticing it?
I would say Wish is very possible because I had a kidney stone that I passed a few years ago and, it was the most painful, like 6 to 8 hours of my life.
You were
But
puking, you're up
I was
chucking.
puking then. The Wish size kidney stone, it makes you puke, but you could pass it. It's small enough
Okay,
to pass. But a Wish opening weekend kidney stone, it's going to make you sick for
okay.
sure. But you could pass that. You can't pass a Barbie opening weekend kidney stone. You can't pass a Super Mario Brothers opening weekend kidney stone.
Yeah,
Five Nights at Freddy's, that's a big one. That's a tough pass
yeah.
on your own. So, the Marvels you could pass, and the Marvels would
Mhm.
be painful.
Yeah.
So that was that. Basically, then it was a week of dealing with healthcare systems, seeing doctors.
We've
Um,
all seen John Q.
Yes, and I was almost in that position of I've got do I have to take this place hostage so
Mhm,
they could pull this opening weekend of Barbie-sized kidney stone out of my body?
mhm.
And so I'm meeting with doctors during that time. Again, you and Christopher recorded 2 outstanding episodes without me.
Yep.
Christopher again got rave reviews, but luckily not the kind of reviews that people are clamoring for me to step aside.
Yeah.
Let's not pretend that's what's going on here. This
Mhm.
isn't, this isn't a Tom Brady situation
No.
here.
No, no.
Or this isn't a, you know, Jon Stewart guest hosting the Larry Sanders show
Mm.
situation. I'm not in
Yeah.
Larry's position where I was home hoping that Christopher would fail
Yes.
because he was attracting too young. I mean, listen, he attracts a younger audience than me.
He
I get
does.
it. He
That's fine.
does. He does, but I feel confident that, I'm back in the chair here and the audience is happy about that. But
Yeah.
so during
Uh
that week, I'm dealing with doctors and then Friday was surgery.
oh.
And with the kidney stones, there's several ways you could go. Um, I was able to go for a surgery that was considered a less invasive version. You could
Mhm.
imagine what the most invasive versions are. And in this, the purpose of the surgery is to take your opening weekend of Barbie sized kidney stone blast it with shock waves. They knock me
Mhm.
out. I'm on a slab,
Yeah.
They
Gotta
call
be.
it a surgical table, but it's a
It's a
slab.
slab. It's a fucking
Yeah.
slab. Who are you kidding?
And I'm on a slab, you know, there's this big machine above me and they're just blasting it with waves. And the goal is to take that opening weekend of Barbie and ideally blast it until it's a bunch of like Playmobil opening weekends, just like
Or
fun.
Silent Night. I mean,
L-
if it's all Silent
Oh,
Night openings, that's 2.9.
I
They'll
would,
go through the strainer.
yes, I would exactly. A Silent Night opening, I would not notice that in the bowl.
Yeah.
The you pee out a opening weekend of Silent Night, you're not noticing that in the toilet bowl. You're flushing that without any second thought.
Yeah.
There's also the possibility, which here's the thing, the status of me right now is I don't know how effective it was. I am definitely in less pain than last week. Last week I
Mm.
was in pretty much nonstop pain. And listen, I'll say it, I was high as a kite.
Yeah.
I was high as a kite for a lot of the week. Then when the surgery was scheduled, I had to stop being high. So that was so much worse. Being high was so much better than being not high.
Agreed.
Um, and right now, there's less pain. I'm hoping to pass some silent nights, even at opening weekend of the Marvels. I could pass that.
Yeah, yeah.
So if they took that Barbie and they turned into like, 4 opening weekends of the Marvels, great. I could get rid of those.
Well, because once you pass a Marvels,
Yes.
the pain immediately goes down like 71%.
100%. Yes, 71%. That is actually it. That is what the doctor told me. That if I
71 to 78%, right? Something
yes,
like that.
yes, or Morbius. That's what I was. The doctor told me beforehand. Hopefully, that this surgery will blast this stone so that you'll have at least a Morbius size drop
Yeah.
over the weekend because I had it on a Friday, and my hope was a Morbius sized weekend drop.
Yeah.
Um, and I will say again, I'm on air now. I couldn't have done this last week. I also was at my in-laws, stayed there for the whole week,
Mhm.
had no technology, no microphones, no laptops. I basically last week would be calling in on a phone, crying the whole time.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Which would be entertaining, sure. It'd
Yeah.
probably be great for YouTube.
Uh-huh.
The kids would, and Christopher would get a lot of great vertical videos out of that for TikTok.
Yeah.
But it's not what we're going for right now.
No. No.
So that is the update.
Yeah.
And it
Yeah,
is,
Pat is not dead. I mean, there was speculation, of course, there was
of course,
speculation that, you finally went through with the penis split surgery.
right,
That was a rumor that I shot down, but it's still
right,
prevalent, and I think that's gonna follow you forever.
right. Well,
Um,
and I did mention some more invasive options for getting rid of this, and yeah,
one of them split penis surgery.
yeah, one of them
Just
is
going
that.
ahead
So
and doing it.
I was like, give
Um,
me the shockwave therapy first.
but I think we're lucky
Mm-hmm.
because last week, Henry Kissinger
Mm-hmm.
died,
Yep.
and I think the devil said, "There's not enough room in hell for both these guys."
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So, he
Too
can't
too
take
much.
Stango
Mm-hmm.
and Kissinger.
Yeah, it would be too much star power at the same time.
It's yeah, it's like who steps out first
Right.
in the flaming red carpet, you gotta greet everybody. It's like that's you can't have the banquet of
Right.
skulls and fire and
Right.
torture for both of you
For both of
guys.
me, yeah, yeah, and let him have his time.
Yeah,
Kissinger earned at least a week to himself
in
in
hell, yeah.
hell.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah, you don't
Absolutely.
want him being, overshadowed immediately by one of the fastest growing podcasters in America.
Absolutely.
Yeah, he
S
earned that. So that is where I'm at. I'm hoping that this Barbie opening weekend has splintered into some silent nights, some cry machos. I mean, I was crying macho last week,
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. I saw it.
but
I witnessed it.
you witnessed me cry macho. But yeah, so fingers crossed. There will be updates, of course, as I go back for CAT scans, possibly further treatments. new stones dropping.
Mhm.
And we will give the results as those stones drop. We will give the results of the size of those opening weekends.
Yeah, and I mean, we talked about this. Do I wanna mention this, the possibility of a certain, like, a giveaway?
So,
Um,
okay. I mean, I'm up for it. So I have not passed anything, because I'm straining. I'm panning. I
yeah.
pee and I pan.
Mhm.
And that's what you got to do. When you pee, you got to pan. When you pan,
Ye
you got to pee.
yeah.
And so I'm trying to collect these rocks since the surgery. Haven't gotten a rock yet, but if there is, and I think there will be, if there is interest from the wannabe O boys, wannabe O girls, wannabe O people
People.
to have a wannabe O stone,
Mhm.
if they may have obliterated this thing. They may have turned this into just dust. This may be like opening weekends of Stuart Saves His Family. That
Mm.
might be what's coming out. So in which case, those are going to go through the strainer. But
Yeah.
if I'm able to collect any wannabe rocks,
Mm.
I will. I mean, we could think whether I would auction them off,
Yeah.
and I would auction them off to listeners, and we'll donate the money to charity. Well, I think,
Okay.
so you think
They're your stones. They're your stones.
yeah, I think charity, but you know what? Actually, here's the deal. Let me see what these I'm insured,
Medical bills. Yeah.
but
You're the
I
fucking charity, bro.
yeah. Okay, so that's what it'll be. It's gonna be once these because insurance only takes you so far.
Mhm.
They're gonna say, "Oh, this shockwave, we had to break up a Barbie size opening weekend, cut us a check."
Yeah.
So, yeah,
It's a
you're right.
percentage of that weekend.
Yeah, the auction of the wannabe stones will go towards medical bills. And this is, I mean, you're the one who's always had outstanding dues, SAG dues, outstanding medical bills, and now here I go. I'm gonna need to strain some stones to get even.
Wow.
So that's the story. That's the update for the listeners. Main thing, not dead. There's your headline. Pat not
Yep.
dead.
Yep.
Um, and yeah, there we go. So Clayton, that said,
Yes.
are you ready to plow?
I am, and you know what? This is such an interesting weekend, and of course, like, wanna BO senior intern Christopher did such a great job, but I am
Great job.
happy you're back for this because there's some interesting things going on here this weekend,
Mhm.
including the number 1 movie, Renaissance, a film by Beyonce, made $21 million in its opening weekend. Number 2, The Hunger Games: The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, made 14.5, down only 50%. It's at
Mhm.
$121.2 million in its third weekend. Number 3, another newbie, Godzilla Minus One, made $11 million in its first frame. And I'm so proud of this because I called this. Number
Mhm.
4, Trolls Band Together made $7.6 million, down 57%. It lost 280 theaters. It's at $74.8 million in its third weekend. Number 5, Wish, $7.4 million, down 62%. It is at $41.9 million in its second weekend. And let's go for 10 because Napoleon, oh my goodness, number 6, $7.1 million, down 65%. It's at $45.7 million, also in its second weekend. Number 7, Animal, a movie I don't know about, so we'll have to look into this.
Mhm.
$6.1 million in just 700 theaters. That's its first weekend. Number 8, The Shift, $4.3 million in its first weekend. Number 9, John Woo's Silent Night, made $3 million.
Mhm.
And number 10, Thanksgiving, made $2.6 million, down 63%. No theater change. It's at $28.3 million in its third weekend. And right under that, The Marvels at number
Wow.
11, $2.5 million, down 60%. It is at $80.7 million in its fourth weekend, and it has been officially called dead.
This is fascinating that Disney basically announced. I'm reading a Variety article that came out today.
Mhm.
Disney is not going to report numbers anymore. We'll stop weekend reporting of international global grosses on this title. So
Yeah.
obviously,
Domestically, we'll still get it.
yeah, but they are basically looking to put this entire experience behind them.
Mhm.
And I think me and you, at the water cooler BOHQ, we're talking about. I don't think we're ever going to see this character again, Captain Marvel, played by Brie Larson. I mean,
Mm-mm.
Disney is looking to fully memory hole this movie. I mean, I'm sure it'll be obviously be on Disney Plus and all that, but they are really trying to pretend that this didn't happen. This movie's going to top out at what, 80? It's at 80 million. So this is going to maybe hit 85, 90 million the most domestically. Just an all time disaster.
Yeah.
But like we said, if this came out in February, I think it would have done Quantumanium numbers, and Quantumania, if it came out now, would have done this.
Yeah, let's do this because I do think we need to sort of, pull a whole daddy's home on Bob Iger
Mhm.
here,
Okay.
because he's been saying some stuff, and, I agree. I mean, Captain Marvel, we'll probably never see her again. The other thing we said is that, Paul Rudd, Ant-Man definitely will crawl out of somebody's ass in Deadpool 3. That's, I think, a slam dunk.
Yeah,
But
I think it's gonna be a the thing is, I think it's gonna be a fart, it's not gonna be a sex thing,
no, no, no,
It's
it's no,
Disney.
it's gonna be a joke. It's gonna be a puerile sort of joke
Yeah,
aimed at 13-year-olds.
I think he's gonna okay, I think Paul Rudd's Ant-Man will fly out of a butt in Deadpool 3, but through a rip in the pants. Like, I don't think this is gonna be like the way they would do it on The Boys,
Oh,
for
bare
instance,
assed.
or
No, no,
yeah,
no.
bare-assed, or the way they would have done it in Deadpool prior to the Disney purchase.
Yeah.
You're not gonna see Paul Rudd flying out of a bare asshole. It's gonna be a large man farts and Paul Rudd pops out through a hole in the seams, and
Mhm.
then he gets large. I
Yeah.
think, and they're never going to say why he was up there.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah. No, he'll just scurry. He'll just be covered in a little bit of dookie, scurry off. Haha. Funny
right,
joke.
right,
Now,
and that's the last you ever see of Paul Rudd's Ant Man. I do believe he's also done.
now, okay. So the thing about Bob Iger,
Hmm.
there's so many things. One is that, listen, we were talking about how we had one of BO senior intern Christopher sitting in for you.
Hmm.
We have a succession plan.
Yes. Yep.
Bob Iger did not have a succession plan.
Nope.
He chose Bob Chapstick. He tried to throw Bob Chapstick under the bus,
Hmm.
then came back as the triumphant hero
Right.
and only made things worse.
Right.
Right? I mean, we're praying, we were wishing for the days of Bob Chapstick when these movies still made some form of money.
Right. Right.
And now he's going out there making comments, throwing his creatives under the bus.
Yes. Saying that the
Now,
movies are just bad because there weren't
saying
enough executives on set at the Marvels.
which is
Yeah.
always the problem.
Always a
Okay, so
problem. Not enough
let's talk about
students.
that point first, and then we'll talk about him saying the message over story thing.
Hmm.
Because because the director of Captain Marvel, that was a direct shot at her.
Yes.
Nia DaCosta, right?
Yes.
That's who it was,
That
right?
was yes, that's who Iger was taking a shot at.
And yet, you don't hear Peyton Reed's name being mentioned, who did
Director of
Quantumania,
Quantumania, yep.
and I'm not throwing him under the bus because I don't wanna throw creatives on the bus, but the problem with this whole thing is that you can't blame the, what is that term when it's something breaks the camel's back?
Don't blame the camel?
No, no. It's a piece of hay or whatever that breaks the camel's back. You know what I'm talking
Okay,
about?
sure. I've never lived in a land where camels are necessary.
No,
I'm from the city. I'm a coastal elite.
but you can't blame the piece of hay that breaks the camel's back
Got it. Got it.
when it is a haystack, right?
Mm,
The
mm.
haystack was all these movies, Eternals, Quantumania, Doctor Strange, all these movies that were low quality that people started to turn on,
Love and
right?
Thunder, sure. All the
Love
DC
and Thunder.
movies, which do affect the Marvel movies as well.
Yes. And so when those things all accumulate, there's gonna be a tipping point. And
Mhm.
like we said, if they would have swapped, then this would have been Quantumania. And
Yep.
then Peyton Reed would have been in the sights. So you can't you can't do that as a person who is running a company and wants creative people to work for you,
Right.
right? And that's the problem with all these guys. And it's the problem that we've had for years is that these people who run these companies don't like movies.
They don't like movies.
They don't like movies.
There was a day when horrible people ran movie studios. Horrible people,
Horrible people.
but they liked movies.
Yes.
The horrible people who run movie studios now, they don't even like movies.
Yeah.
You
No,
know,
they don't.
again, we've talked about it. David Zaslav and Iger, they could be selling. Listen, they could be CEOs of companies that sell the machine that broke up my kidney stone,
Mhm.
or they could run a company that makes movies. To them, they wouldn't care either way. Both of
Yeah.
those things are the same. Something that breaks up body rocks or something that puts movies on a movie screen. Those are all there's no difference between those to someone like a David Zaslav.
Yes.
They're all
And
products.
it's the straw that broke the camel's back. You've
It's the
heard that saying,
straw. I
right?
have heard the straw. Yes.
So
Again,
you
I'm
can't
in a lot. I'm in a decent amount of pain now, so I am not going to be recalling folksy sayings,
okay.
on a whim.
But again, like I'm saying, you can't blame the straw when a hay bale fell on your slate of movies,
Yeah,
okay?
yeah.
So that is offensive to me that he's doing that. And
Mhm.
Nita Costa, she has every right to come out and say whatever she's going to say, but she won't because there's no benefit for her to do
Right.
so,
Right,
right?
right,
He's still too powerful. She wants to work
right,
and it puts her in a shitty situation. So I
right,
feel bad for her,
right.
okay? Then you have him coming out and saying, we went too message forward and we didn't focus on story, and that's a problem. And you know what? That is a problem because at any level of storytelling, you have to make a story good in order for people to want to experience it,
Sure.
right?
I mean,
It
I'm not
doesn't
sure how much that
matter.
affects the superhero box office decline of the last few years.
Well, but this is what he was saying. He's talking, and that is in reference to the kids' movies, I
The
believe,
kids
is what
movies,
he's
sure.
trying to
Okay,
talk
so
about,
the
right?
Pixars or yeah.
But here's what I wanna say about this, is that
Mhm.
it doesn't matter what the messages are. It's the fact that there ever was a not focus on story, because
Mhm.
the problem with Marvels is it wasn't messages, it was the fact that it was all about interconnectivity and Easter eggs and stuff, and you didn't have a story. So
Sure.
story should have always been first. Like, the fact that he came out and said that like it's some sort of revelation, it's like, that should be on the whiteboard in every writer's room, every script writer's apartment,
Okay.
that you should make a good story, and then people will get the message if the story is good and they like it and and it makes sense, okay?
So
That is the problem.
So I think let's move off of the superheroes because I mean this is replace Nolan as our dead horse or the superhero.
Well,
Uh,
but we're not talking about we're just talking about what Iger is
sure,
saying.
sure.
Iger is saying stupid things. He's saying
Yes,
things that are not helping the company, and also he's a guy that left triumphantly, and now he is flailing.
he's flailing. Well, I mean the biggest flail, and I didn't get a chance to talk about this at all last week. Um, is Wish. I mean this movie,
Yes.
Disney's animated. And I guess it's not a princess, but it's a princess adjacent tale. what a disaster this is. $41 million after 2 weekends, a 62% drop in its second weekend. And now you predicted this last weekend. Trolls Band Together in its third weekend finished ahead of Wish's second weekend.
Yes.
And I'm going to read you a little something. I got some boots on the ground reporting from a wannabe girl who took her child to see Trolls Band Together.
Mhm.
So this is the parent. Our listener writes, Trolls is garbage and we are all dumber for having seen it, but name redacted, had fun. The wannabe baby had fun. The rat's been fed. And
Yes.
that's all that matters. And then some more follow up. There were tons of Wish promotional cups and popcorn tubs. We were not swayed, just got a small popcorn and cherry Coke. So there you go. Didn't get the promotional upcharges, but they did buy concessions, which is great. So great job there. And then in reference to the child, she stayed in her seat the whole time, didn't sing any of the songs after. So definitely less enthusiasm than Paw Patrol. So this child was a big fan of Paw Patrol. But we listened to the soundtrack on the drive home and she was into it.
Into the
So
Wish soundtrack?
no, this is about this is all about Trolls Band Together.
Okay. Okay.
This
Okay.
is that was all in reference to Trolls Band Together.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, that's right. She said there were tons of Wish there weren't Trolls promotional items around. There was Wish promotional items
Okay. So
in the theater. So
this
so
is
but here's the thing. That was a family that chose Trolls over Wish. The
yes.
child wanted Trolls. She did not want Wish.
And Wish is pacing behind Strange World right now.
Wow.
This thing is going over an absolute cliff.
Wow. Wow.
And
Wow.
we talked about this too. A lot of the reason with this and with these Disney movies is that taking little kids to the theater is a hassle.
Mhm.
And when you're already paying for Disney Plus, and listen, these are the tracks laid by Bob Iger. These are the
Yes.
greased tracks laid by Bob Iger.
Yeah.
That
Chat.
chapstick got thrown on those tracks and tied
Yep.
to those tracks like a
Yep.
damsel in distress. And here's Iger with his mustache,
Yep.
twirling it like a
Yep.
dastardly villain.
Yep.
And these tracks go directly to Disney Plus, which these parents already have. And the
Mhm.
kids, whatever you say about Wish, worst movie since Chicken Little, blah, 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 whatever. Villain song was terrible. You plop your kid down in front of it, they'll eat it up.
Oh, sure. Sure.
Okay. But
Sure. Someday kids will watch Wish on Disney Plus, but they did not want to they were not inspired to go see it in a movie theater.
and that's the problem is that you
Yep.
have to have product that kids will beg you and scream and
Right.
cry and pull your hair and hit you and slap you to
Yes.
to make you take them there. And
Yes.
no kid was doing that for Wish.
No kid. No kid.
Was
Again, this
pulling their mom's hair and being like, "Wish, wish, wish."
no, this listen, I got boots on the ground reporting. This child was we got to see Trolls. We got to see Trolls. I'm imagining she was screaming at some point and she was not screaming to see Wish.
No.
And she was not screaming to buy the promotional merchandise that was there. This kid did not care. Did not care.
So, Disney Apparel, I mean, everything is up in the air now, but let's talk positives.
Okay.
Well, one more quick negative, but I don't think we have to talk about this too much. Napoleon ate shit. It looks like this is a movie that's not gonna do much.
Yeah,
N
65% drop in the second weekend. There's not a lot of buzz for this. I mean, it doesn't seem like it's a Oscar-y movie, and it also doesn't seem like it's obviously not a gladiator type action, everyone come have a good time epic. So it's in
Yeah.
that sort of like middle ground of like, what is this? What is the hook here?
It's sort of where Ridley lives sometimes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Where it's like, this isn't, like, salacious and crazy enough to be like, "I must see this in theaters," and it's, like, not gripping and historically, like, accurate or, um, interesting enough to
Mhm.
be like a gladiator type movie.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So this is 7
Not that
million last
Gladiator was
weekend.
historically accurate or whatever, it doesn't
I
matter.
mean,
His
we're looking at
accuracy doesn't matter.
we're looking at a movie that's probably gonna maybe get to 60 million domestic, and I think that's about it, right? 45 million after 2 weekends, it just made 7 million. I mean, 50s, maybe 60 is the ceiling.
Mhm.
Um, and, here's one I'll just throw out there just real quick outside of the top 10 that had a interestingly very small drop. Movie we saw, Saltburn. Only
Yeah,
dropped
so
16%. Now, obviously, again, it's a movie that just made 1.5 million in its third weekend. But a 16% drop is really low. It didn't add theaters, so it's not
Mhm.
an expansion situation. It's at 6.2 million. I don't know what it cost, whatever, who cares? Um, this is a movie that seems to be getting a lot of chatter online, and we
Mhm.
saw it and we could understand why. I don't think either of us particularly like this movie, but it's something to talk about. I
Yeah.
think some of that translated into box office, nothing out of control, but I think there was a little bit of a, hey, maybe you should go see this type of thing, just to have something to talk to people at the office about.
Yeah. And I think for us, we
A
sort of
little bit.
thought I think we thought there was, like, we'd seen stuff like this before, but I think if you have a young audience and this is their first exposure to this sort of film and this sort of stuff, like, going to a theater to watch it, there is an illicit thrill to seeing this sort of thing on the big screen if you're somebody who's, like, 18.
Yeah. I mean, listen, I think this movie, it's from Amazon Studios. When that does drop on streaming and, Prime, it's not Netflix, it's not Disney Plus, but
It's
everyone
a toilet
has it.
paper delivery company.
It's totally a toilet paper company, but I do think Saltburn's gonna be a movie that a lot of people watch when it eventually gets to the streamer,
Oh,
more
yeah.
so than, Brittany runs a marathon, let's say,
Mhm.
for Amazon, Prime Video.
God, you hate that movie.
I
You always
listen,
mention that movie.
when you talk about the illustrious history of Amazon releases, you gotta mention Brittany runs a marathon. Give me the other one. You gotta mention it.
Oh, Late Night.
Late night, of course.
Of course.
So
It destroyed I mean, I mean, they're just getting back into theatrical releases now because of Late Night.
right. Um, Anything to say on this Silent Night? This is from
Oh,
Lionsgate, John Woo,
John Woo means
apparently a
nothing.
wordless action movie.
John Woo means nothing.
Mhm.
This thing did not even cry macho because it didn't even make it to 4. It did, like, Liam Neeson numbers
Mhm.
with Joel Kinnaman, so but, I mean, that's after so many Liam Neeson movies. Like, Joel Kinnaman never had Taken. He
Right,
went
of
straight
course.
to Blackout or whatever,
Right,
or
Blacklight.
Blacklight, sorry,
Yeah, yeah,
Blacklight.
yeah. Yeah,
Um, where
yeah.
yeah, where
Joel
where yeah,
Kinnaman's
where
never even had an honest thief, let's be honest.
let's be honest, yeah,
Let's
yeah.
be honest.
He
Yeah, John Woo, obviously, legendary, or I don't know about legendary, but definitely a well-regarded international director. I think in the United States, his uh his esteem stopped a long time ago. I was shocked to hear how long it had been since he had made an American movie.
yeah, Paycheck,
Paycheck, my god, because he had that
2003.
run. He had the Face Off, Broken Arrow, that run. He did Mission Impossible 2, but, this was supposed to be his big return. Didn't work out. You're right though. Joel Kinnaman is just, uh, no one's going to see that. If anything, he's an
Listen,
anti-draw.
listen, could be a great guy, could be a monster, who
Yep,
knows?
doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter. So, positives, again, we were gonna say positives.
Let's do it.
Godzilla -1. Here's a
Yes.
movie that we thought could do this sort of number, and it did,
Mhm.
because interest in this by a very fervent fan base was
Mhm.
high.
Mhm.
I I heard it looked great for a
Mhm.
$15 million movie. Now, the buzz online is that $15 million, in Japan, the thing with that is that they don't pay their VFX people anything.
Right, right. So
So
you've
it's
gotta
easier to
temper
have
your enthusiasm for how
Yeah.
what a great job they did
Yes.
because it's, you know,
Yeah.
questionable labor practices probably made that Godzilla. And
Eh,
isn't that what Godzilla has always been a allegory for, is underpaid workers?
no, it's fear of the atomic age.
Fear
The
of the
fear of the
atomic age.
bomb.
Got it. Okay. I thought it was for like labor unions. I thought he was like a big teamster emerging from the ocean.
No, 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 no. Oh, he's like the giant rat. He's like the giant inflatable rat.
That's what I'm confusing it with. I'm
Yeah.
confusing with the giant inflatable rat that you see outside of Struck hotels. Yeah.
Godzilla versus the giant inflatable rat is a
Mm.
cool idea.
Yeah. Yeah. Because it's Godzilla is someone who we don't really ever know what his deal is, but the giant inflatable rat is a principled monster,
Mhm.
you know? And I mean, that could be a sequel here is the giant inflatable rat is parked outside the VFX house of the next Godzilla movie.
Mhm.
And then Godzilla, created by underpaid VFX artists in Japan, has to fight the giant inflatable rat. Obviously, the problem there is giant inflatable rat, you pop them and it's over.
Yeah,
That's the
so
problem.
maybe it's a human embodiment of the rat with
Maybe.
even with all its sores. Like it's an actual rat
Yeah,
that
maybe.
comes and sits outside and then they fight
Maybe.
and then maybe they end up being friends because that's sometimes
That's
happens, right?
that's always
Godzilla
the
fights
ending of
for
these Godzilla movies, these Kong movies. Yeah.
yeah.
Uh,
So, positive I mean, this is very
yep.
good now. Will this thing have any legs? I guess, does it even really matter with $11 million on a $15 million budget? It just in America, this movie's
Right.
already
Right.
made, Bafa Bobo in other countries, so,
Right. I
you
mean,
know?
it probably will. I mean, not to get ahead of our, next episode, God willing, I'll be on the weekend preview episode as well, and we'll talk about next weekend. But the weekend of December 8th does not have much going for it. I mean, God, I'm looking at it. There's a Die Hard limited re-release next Friday, December 8th, and
Okay, okay.
a bunch of limited releases. So if people like this Godzilla minus one, it could just hold up pretty well. Maybe it makes
Yeah.
another 6 million next weekend. Who knows?
Uh, yeah, and then look at and I know the kids are back at school, the college kids are back at school partying their asses off with their
Yep.
new friends
Yep.
after they went and saw this Hunger Games prequel with their high school friends to
Yep.
relive some of their heydays,
Yep.
middle school, high school friends, what have you.
Yeah. The
Fif
townies.
Townies, 50% drop is very nice. This is
Mhm.
nice. This movie is acting very nice, I'll say.
Yeah, I mean, listen, we'll talk about on the weekend preview episode. There's a good chance, and we have not even talked about the number one movie of the weekend. We'll get to that next, but
Yeah,
there's a very good chance that the Hunger Games: Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes ends up at number one next weekend. You
yeah.
know,
Oh, very good chance.
yeah, yeah. This is, listen, you can't compare this to the J Law franchise of the Hunger Games.
Mm-mm.
Obviously bigger production, bigger star. It was of the moment when the books were at their hottest. But this movie is doing well.
Mhm.
$121 million domestic after 3 weekends. I think it's got a shot of getting over like 150
Mhm.
domestic. I mean, this is a hit. This is a hit.
Yeah. This is a legitimate hit. It's a franchise reinvigorator, which is
Yep.
awesome. And so, people say like, what's gonna fill in this hole where Marvel is, creating this huge gap? These kind of things.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
these are the kind of things like if this movie continues to have great legs, the next one will be even bigger.
Yes, yes, and you could introduce a big star maybe as the villain or, have some kind of value add in that.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, I mean, and it's a win for Rachel Zegler, who whatever you want to say about her,
Was under some fire.
was under some fire, and this is a win. This is a win.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people were rooting for this to bomb, specifically because of whatever feelings towards her, and that did not happen.
No.
That did not happen. This was a hit. So,
Well, because here's the thing. I mean, not to go back to it because you seem to want to avoid it, but like people liked this story. Like they were invested
sure.
in this story and
Yeah,
whatever that is the thing. I'm sure there's a message to this movie because there's a message to pretty much all great movies,
right.
but people just were really enjoying this story.
Yes. Yes. And you know what? The IP was still relevant to younger people.
Mhm.
It was relevant obviously to 30 and 40-year-olds who were into the original franchise, but like you said, college age people still wanted to go see it. And it's an action movie that's not superheroes. And
Mhm.
I think that is a bigger and bigger deal as we move forward. All right, let's get into usually we start with the number one. Obviously, the big story this week was The Inside of My Body.
Yeah, oh
But
yeah.
um number one movie this weekend, another concert film that is released by
Event. We
AMC Theaters.
event. It's
Oh,
event. That's why we waited till last because it's
no.
not actually a film or a movie. It's an event.
I mean, Clayton, this is a film. It is in the title of the film that this is a film. I'm talking about the number one film in America, Renaissance, a film by Beyonce. That is the title of this film. So if you put film in the title of your film, you are a film.
Well, we
And
could
this
call
is a
this the
film.
BO Boy sandwich, but nobody is going to eat it.
Maybe. We haven't called it that yet, so we don't know. This is listen, whatever it was, it number one at the box office, 21 million. And so we're doing this on a Sunday evening. I could see this going up a little bit. There's some chatter of this is the type of movie that gets a little bit of the church bus crowd, and maybe the Sundays are even stronger than the Sunday evening estimates are. So maybe by Monday this does go up a million or so, but this is a pretty good opening weekend for what is traditionally the one of the worst box office weekends of the year, the weekend after Thanksgiving. For whatever reason, Hollywood doesn't put big movies out, and
Mhm.
they did. And this is like, I think, second or third biggest movie to ever open on this weekend.
Well,
So
so it is right under, or not right under, but under Tom Cruise's Last Samurai
okay,
from 2003, the same year that John Woo released his last American film before Silent Night.
wow, wow,
And the record is only 24.2. Now, Beyonce's not gonna reach that, but, this if this
that's
thing
close.
ends up with 23 because of the church bus crowd, that's money in theaters' pockets
Yes,
on, as you said, a sleepy weekend. We've said this a million times. Weekends become weekends when they do. They're not
right,
always weekends, but somebody has to stake that claim.
right,
Big Willie had to take his weekend.
yep,
You know what I mean? Um, Shang-Chi coming out on what was that, Labor Day?
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
That wasn't a big movie weekend. Now, it really
Hasn't
hasn't
become
stuck,
since, but it
uh,
could have
but
been.
but
Shang-Chi
it
was
could have
able
been.
to perform that weekend. Yeah.
But who knows? We could be talking, and we will be,
Yeah.
in 10 years, and Labor Day is a big movie going weekend,
Yep.
because it happens, because you just have to stake that claim. And doing this, hey, maybe this is a big concert weekend.
Right. 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 Um, here's the thing, like with the Taylor Swift movie, and you can't compare these movies. I think there was a lot of, oh, if Taylor Swift opened at 90 million, what's Beyonce gonna open to? And it's just people are at different points in their careers, popularity waves, and Beyonce's
Yeah.
movie wasn't gonna open to 90 million, but opening to 21, possibly more when the Sunday actuals come in, this is a huge win for a concert film. And it doesn't mean, just like with Taylor Swift, it doesn't necessarily mean now Beyonce is a movie star, where the next thing is, let's reboot, let's do another Austin Powers sequel with Beyonce. Although you should do another Austin Powers sequel.
Oh,
I
yeah,
think
it's just lying there.
it's just lying there. But I don't think Beyonce, the actress, is going to be reignited because this movie opens 21 million, but it makes her a bigger star in general. This is a huge feather in her cap that she did a concert film that opened this high as opposed to, open to $3 million or something and came
Well,
out like a specialty release.
yeah, when you look at Justin Bieber, Never Say Never, 2011, opened at 29.5. I mean, yes, Justin Bieber probably got bigger as a cultural force, but at that moment, he was super popular with young
Yes.
women
He was at the
and
he was at the apex already of
of
his
his sort
popularity. Yeah,
of his teeny bopper, fame, right?
right.
And for that movie to only make 29.5 compared to this, 22 or 23, that's not that far off. And then
No,
you've got Michael Jackson, This Is It, which came out in 2009, which was at the height of his perversion, I guess
right.
you could
But
say.
he was already that's a posthumous release, right?
Yes, it must have been. It must have
Yeah,
been, right? Because he died in
yeah,
2008?
yeah. So Michael Jackson, This Is It, gets the benefit of all of the goodwill that came with his death,
Yeah, yeah.
so that's a different story. Yeah, with something like this renaissance of a film by Beyonce, this is Beyonce. Obviously, she's still a giant star, not necessarily this movie coming out the peak. So this is a great test of just how popular she's remained, you know?
Uh-huh.
And I think this shows that she's an enduring star. An enduring star because having a big movie open is the biggest thing anyone could do. And now she's done it.
Yeah, and I mean, here's the thing. This has been a great year for female moviegoers
Yes.
in the
Yes.
sense that here's the 72% female for Renaissance,
Wow.
51% over 25,
Wow.
21% women under 25, men over 25, 19%, men under 25, 8%. This was a lady play, which
Mhm.
is great.
We love a
I
lady
mean,
play.
we love a lady play, as was Taylor Swift.
Yep.
Barbie, again, that did Buffa Bobo across a lot of, different demos, but over-indexed with women.
Yes, ladies
I
led
mean,
the way.
that's the sort of thing is like, "Hey, guess what? Women go to the movies."
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know? I mean, it's one of those things where it's like, it seems dumb to have to say it, but it's true.
I mean, this was really more and more and more you look at it, Barbie, Taylor Swift, now this Beyonce movie, and obviously the Beyonce movie is not gonna end up being one of the biggest movies of the year, but that is one of the stories of this year, that this was, quote unquote girl power at the box office this year.
But I also think this is something that's positive for when you look at something like Wonka,
Okay.
because Wonka has a lead that ladies love.
Yes. Yes.
And they're
Yes.
gonna wanna go there and squeal. And again,
Mm,
listen, there's gonna be men that are gonna go there and squeal.
yes. And
There's gonna be
people.
people, thank
Yeah.
you, people who are
Yeah.
gonna go there and squeal.
Yep.
But I think when you look at Wonka, you're gonna see kids, families, but you're gonna see a lot of women.
Yeah, a lot of squealers, yeah.
Yeah. Right? And so I think that's one of those things is that you wanna make theaters a place where everybody kinda wants to go, and they can share that space, and that's why putting different movies at different times is you can have the kids come early for
Right.
something, have the kids come early for Wonka with the families, and then late night Wonka is all about the Bobby Soxers screaming,
Yep.
and, that's great. That
Yep.
is great.
Yep. Yeah, and I think the Renaissance Beyonce success is another thing we're learning this year is that movies have to be events. You
Mhm.
know, you look at
Thank you for saying
Barbie,
it's an
Barb
event, not a movie.
well, Barbenheimer was an event,
Yes.
and Five Nights at Freddy's was an event.
Yes.
Taylor Swift, The Eras Tour, the movie, was an event. Sound of Freedom was an event.
Yeah.
These are events. These are things that go beyond just, oh, it's another in some ways, The Hunger Games, Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, I think has become a little bit of an event for younger people,
Mhm.
and Beyonce figured out how to make this an event for her fans, and obviously a star like her could make something an event, and that is going to be the lesson for movie. Megan, Cocaine
Mhm.
Bear. These were events at the beginning of 2023. Super Mario Brothers, obviously. When
Yeah.
you look back to when Megan came out, it was because people were excited to be there in person and experience it together. That's what happened with Sound of Freedom. That's what happened with Taylor Swift, the Eras Tour of the movie, and that's what happened this weekend with Renaissance, a film by Beyonce.
Yeah. Absolutely. Now,
So,
Pat, before we go, just
yep,
we have to touch on holdovers
sure.
because holdovers, again, we talked about this last week, and I think probably the week before we were talking about, or maybe we were talking off mic. We were talking at the water cooler at BO Boys HQ about this PVOD release
Mm,
of the holdovers
hmm.
taking out the knees of this movie.
And it did.
And
It did.
and it did, and
It did.
listen,
It did.
I said it would, you said maybe not, because these things they don't always affect the runs of these movies. We've seen it happen before where a big movie goes out on PVOD and people still wanna see it in theaters, but I nailed this
Yeah,
because it is the people who are the age who are gonna go see this movie. If they are given the chance to buy this thing for 30 bucks
and
or
they've got the
whatever it
money.
is, and they've got the money, they will do it.
Yes, yes. I mean, the holdovers could have been a it could have been a Green Book sized hit,
Yes.
possibly domestically. I know Green Book went bananas worldwide, and maybe
Mhm.
holdovers doesn't do that, but holdovers, even in these times, I think if it had gotten a true theatrical release, it had probably needed to just get off, shit and get off the pot earlier instead of this like 10-week tiered rollout. It probably needed a
I
weekend or two of limited, and then it's like Thanksgiving, we're putting this in 2,000 theaters and
it
going
is
from there.
so hard to
It-
platform
it's
anymore.
so hard to platform.
Platforming is so hard anymore because people just don't have time for anything.
Yeah,
They
and
can't.
you lose the awareness that comes with, because the reviews are not platformed. So when the holdovers
Yes.
debuts and everyone drops their reviews and says how great it is, and you get some TV commercials for it, because a company like, what is this, Focus Features, they uh uh they spend their money on TV commercials in those first few weekends when the movie's only playing in like 6 cities.
Yes.
And so you're seeing, I'm sure you're out there in the stacks, you're out
Mhm.
there Plain Billy, and you're seeing commercials for this holdovers movie, and it's just taunting you.
Yeah.
And then by the time it does come out in your city, like 6 weeks later, you're angry at this thing,
Yeah.
and
Because
you've
first of
forgotten
all,
the commercial.
yeah, absolutely. And I think another thing that hurt this is that with the SAG strike, when it launched, you couldn't have Pig Virus go out and
Yeah.
talk, and you couldn't have Divine Joy Randolph, who's getting such great Oscar buzz.
Yep, yep,
You couldn't have her go out and charm people and eat
yep,
the wings.
and Eat the Wings. They all would have, that whole cast, they may have done like what, like a team up with the 3 of them sitting there eating the hot wings.
Just a buffet. Yeah,
Yeah,
the 2 of them, and who's
and the kid.
yeah, the
Dominic
kid.
Sessa, the kid.
Yeah,
And but I think it does come back. The real death blow was this
the
movie
PVOD.
going on PVOD on the Monday after Thanksgiving. That
Oh.
was it. That was it. Because this is a movie that was going to go towards an older audience, family audience, an audience that is maybe more willing to spend money for conveniences.
Mhm.
And hey, I'm sure they made some good money this last week on PVOD, but you can't flaunt that publicly, or
No.
people don't take it seriously, and that is going to affect the reputation of this movie. I think it's going to affect the Oscar chances, possibly this movie. A
100%.
version of the holdovers that starts making getting to 30 million, getting to 35 million domestic, that's a much stronger best picture contender than a Holdovers that's going to top out at what? 12 million? Where is this at?
It's at
15
12 at the
million.
moment. Oh, is
15.
it
It's at
15?
15. So that's
So
the
maybe
story
it doesn't even
there.
get to. It's not even gonna get to 20,
It might not
probably.
get to 20. It made 1.1 million last weekend. It's in 1,300 theaters. So it lost theaters. That's it. That's it.
Yeah.
The release of that movie is over. The
Well, I'm
release of
looking
that
on.
movie is
I
over.
looked on my
What a shame.
AMC. I looked on my AMC app, and it's only at one theater near me.
Wow. And you live in New York City.
I live in New York, fucking city. I don't live in the world. I
Yeah.
live. I live in New York, fucking city.
Wow. Wow. I mean that is a shame. Great movie. I think it could have been. It's post pandemic. The studios have not figured out how to make these low budget, obviously horror stuff, but they're not making money off of what used to be Oscar bait movies that could be hits.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, so we'll see. So
Well,
I mean,
congratulations, Pat, for getting through this episode. My
I
God,
got through
what
it.
a
I gutted
trooper.
through it. Now I've got to go drink a gallon of water. I've been drinking water nonstop. I did not drink during this episode, or else I immediately would have had to get up.
Hmm.
But the second we go off the air, I down a bottle of water, I pee, I pan, and if I get any rocks, auction them off to
Yeah.
to listeners and try and
A
pay some medical
B
bills.
P P.
Yep,
Always be peeing and
peeing and
panning.
panning. Yep, yep. All right, so Clayton, we did it. So of course, listeners, email us theboboyspodcast at gmail.com. We love getting your boots on the ground reporting, your predictions, well wishes, of course, for
Mhm.
any of us. Well wish any of us. Of course, obviously, I'm the one who deserves them the most right now, but you could well wish any member of the team. Follow us on social media at the BO Boys Pod on Twitter X, on TikTok. Wanna BO senior intern Christopher doing an amazing job with the clips, with the vertical videos on social media, on YouTube. And you know what's great? He's back where he belongs. He did a great job on air.
Mhm.
He's got a bright future on air, but we're not going to have, a situation where the network is saying, hey, let's go with the younger guy, less money. That's not happening. He's back
No.
to running the social media and the vertical videos. Thank you, of course, to Wanna BO junior intern Jack, who's just, if you haven't already, you got to subscribe to the BO Boy Substack. Jack is just killing it there with his write ups twice a week, just putting them out there.
Talk about
And
back from the dead.
yeah, our Substack has risen, and it's thanks to Jack, and also personal thanks to Jack for during this last week when I was in nonstop pain, not contacting me.
Mhm.
And
He
I
knew.
cannot thank him enough. And I thank Wanna BO senior intern Christopher for, he was on air, but he also was that wall between
Mhm.
us and Jack
Yeah.
during a time when we really needed that wall to stand strong.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
thank you to both our interns for that. Of course, 5 stars in Apple Podcasts. I mean, the podcast is great, so you should give us 5 stars, but we could use some sympathy stars this week.
Yeah, I mean, guys, Pat's not out of the woods. I
I'm
mean,
not out of the
he's putting
woods.
on a brave face, but this fucking guy, we don't know what size that stone still is in there. I mean,
We're hoping for a
it's not.
Playmobil size zone, but I could still have, God forbid, I could still have a, Super Mario Brothers. They could have just shaved this thing down
No.
with that blast from a Barbie to a Super Mario Brothers. I mean, I hope to God not. I listen, the 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 pain level I was at last week, I was at an end game, and I am
Mm.
obviously not at that right now. I would not have been able to
Wow.
even talk for an hour last week the way I just did now. So it did
Wow.
something. It did something.
My goodness, Pat.
But yeah,
Well,
5 stars on Apple Podcasts.
yeah, do it. Please do it. And we we got a few emails. I do want to shout out. OG wannabe oh boy, Adam from the Stacks. I do think
Mm.
he might have been the first person to ever email us. I might be wrong, but does that feel right to you?
It's very possible back in early 2020, he may have gotten in that earlier. Yeah.
He has a very interesting take on the movie Migration
Okay, do
that's
you wanna
coming
just
out
read
that
it and then we'll let that
no,
sit with the audience? No, you
no,
wanna wait
we're
until the next
gonna
episode.
well, we're gonna talk about it when we do the preview for that, which is
Great,
December 22nd, but I just want Adam to know
great.
that we read your email and we are bringing it out when the time is appropriate, just
Love
so
it,
he knows.
love it, love it. So sit tight, Adam. Your email will be read at the proper date,
And it's great. It's great.
and it's great.
I love it. I love the take.
Um, so of course, emails to theboboyspodcast@gmail.com. Follow us on YouTube. We are YouTubers. So if you've only listened to the podcast, you haven't seen uh, the emotional reunion that happened at the beginning of this episode. So you could see it, not just hear it. And you didn't get to see me sort of squirm around
Yeah, you're
with
moving a lot, bro.
moving a lot. So you could only experience that on the BO Boys YouTube channel. See the movement. Come. It's not a party. It's a movement.
It's movement. And you will also, if you don't subscribe, you will not be able to see the live stream where we auction off your kidney stones.
Yes, yes, yes. Because I once if God willing these things come out naturally, I will hold them up on the camera and I will show them for the auction. So you will get to
And then we'll
see.
get super chats. Whoever has the biggest super chat,
Yep,
we
yep,
give it to them. We send
yep,
them. We send it
yeah,
to them.
yep, and it goes straight to medical bills. So
Mhm.
a lot to come on the BO Boys YouTube channel. And Clayton, I think we've done it.
Oh, I can't think of anything that's left to be said
Nothing, nothing.
except for until next time.
Will
We'll
smell
smell
you
you
at
at the
the
box
box
office.
office. Nailed it.
Nailed